Good morning, all of you. Now we are back with the chapter Political Science Outcomes of Democracy. In this chapter, we will discuss about three outcomes, that is political, economic, and social outcome. Yesterday we have discussed about political outcome, and now we'll discuss economic outcome. That means economic growth and development. If democracies are expected to produce good governments, then is it not fair to expect that they would also produce development? Evidence shows that in practice, many democracies did not fulfill this expectation. If you will see, all democracies and all dictatorships for the last 70 years, dictatorships have slightly higher rate of economic growth. The inability of democracy to achieve higher economic development worries us. But this alone cannot be reason to reject democracy. As we have already studied in economics also, economic development depends on several factors: countries' population size, countries' cooperation from other countries, global, global situation, and economic priorities adopted by the countries. However, the difference in the rates of economic development between less developed countries with dictatorships and democracies is negligible. Overall, we can say that democracy is a guarantee of economic development, but we can expect democracy not to lag behind dictatorship in this respect. And when we find such significant difference in the rates of economic growth between countries under dictatorships and democracy, it is better to prefer democracy as it has several other positive outcomes also. So, democracy does not appear to be successful in reducing economic inequalities, perhaps more than the development. It is reasonable to expect democracies to reduce economic disparity also, the gap between the rich and poor. Even when a country achieves economic growth, will wealth be distributed in such a way that all citizens of the country will have a share and lead a better life? Is economic growth in democracies accompanied by increased inequalities among the people? Or do democracies lead to a just distribution of goods and opportunities? As democracy, when we are talking about democracy, that is a political situation. Democracies are based on political equalities. All individuals have equal weight in electing representatives. All are having right to vote. One person, one vote, one value. Parallel to the process of bringing individuals into the political arena on an equal footing, we find growing economic inequalities. A small number of ultra rich enjoy a highly disproportionate share of wealth and income. Not only the share in the total income of the country has been increasing, those at the bottom of the society have very little to depend upon. Their incomes have been declining. Sometimes they find it difficult to meet their basic needs of life, such as food, clothing, houses, education, and health. That means In actual life, democracy do not appear to be very successful in reducing economic equalities, inequalities. Last year also we have discussed about poverty in India. The poor constitute a large proportion of our voters and no party will like to lose their votes. Yet, democratically elected governments do not appear to be seen to address the question of poverty as we expect from it. And the situation is much more worse in some other countries like Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, more than half of its population lives in poverty. Poverty in democratic countries, that is a big challenge for a democracy. People in several poor countries are now dependent on the rich countries even for food supplies. So we can say arguments about democracy related with economic outcome tend to be very passionate. This is how it should be, for democracy appeals to some of our deep values, that is hunger, housing, education, and health. So over the years, democracy have gathered careful evidences to see what the relationship of democracy with economic growth and economic inequalities. So whenever we will discuss about democracy and economic development, democracy is not very much successful in reducing inequalities. But we cannot reject democracy only on this